Okay, all right. So thank you for making time for this training session. Actually, today should be the last day for this particular session that kickstarted from 20th, and I think we have been able to cover some a variety of concepts. So let us just see what we have for you. That we'll be covering today, so that at least we can wrap up everything. All right. So I might try to be rushing through a number of concepts that I believe you may be aware of. But if you feel that my pace is a bit fast, please be sure to let me know, so that we don't just rush for the purpose of just rushing and completing. At the end of the day, you are required to implement more of the concept that we are going to share across. All right. So I think yesterday wasn't the best day for us. I think we were hit by an error that we personally I haven't seen it before, but I believe we will be able to overcome that today. So as we mentioned, that every day is a running day. So every day you get to get a new challenge, and by resolving that challenge, you become more wiser, and of course you come closer to be that web developer you have always dreamt to be. All right. Okay, perfect. So yesterday we were stuck in implementing or extending the user model. We got quite a number of challenges in there, but in one way or the other I was able to get a workaround to that, because the method that we were using, and we are still going to demonstrate using that method, it's a bit let me just call it, it's a bit sensitive, right? But before we end this session, I hope I won't forget. Should I forget, somebody should remind me to just mention of another method, an alternative method to the one that we are going to illustrate, which I will be requiring you to do a mini project on that. It's a simple one, and I think a bit friendly. It's all about the only issue is that it might look a bit noisy. All right, but anyway, with the two methods that I used to achieve one goal, I believe you are able now to choose the best convenient for you, right? So I will illustrate one of the methods, then have your own initiative to see how the other one works. All right. So in here, I have this project. This is what we have been working with, and we have in our previous sessions already implemented basic authentication, whereby we are able to log in, register, log out, and all that, right? So we are going to extend the user model, whereby we'll be able to get some more fields. We want to capture some more information from the user. All right. So the error that we got yesterday was coming from a conflict in migration. All right, and I just tried checking around, and I came up with, instead of creating or extending the user models in existing applications, we will be creating a new application that will serve as either the user model or the user registration or anything. But this particular application will be purposefully created for the purpose of extending the user model. All right. So I hope today we are not going to get a new error like we did yesterday. All right. So we'll be creating a new application, just like we created home, blog app. So we'll be creating a new application here that we are going to use for that purpose. All right. So let's proceed and see how it goes. Right. So remember to create a new application. We have Python manager.py. We have startup. Then we give it a name. So we can, let me just give it user models. I believe there is no, that's not a reserved keyword. So let me just press enter. All right. So in here we see that a new application has been created. This one, user models. All right. So just a quick recap on what used to happen whenever we created a new application. One is that the very first thing you need to do is to add that application in the installed apps. All right, so in here we just need to have that. Then let me have user models. All right, so there is not a very special name, it's just a name that I came up with, so it's not in any way related to the user model that we want to extend. So you can give it any name, so long as at least it gives a hint that this application is or its main focus is to be dealing with the user authentication and all that. All right, so once we do that, the next thing we need to define is the class that will be holding the new fields that we want to add. Right, we had already done this, but very quickly we will be doing that. Right, so this is the models.py of the application that we just created. So in here, okay, sorry, in here we need to, okay, all right, so we need to import something, and we will be importing from, so we want to talk from django.contrib.auth.models. all right, we want to import AbstractUser. all right, so once we do this quickly, we can define a class that we call custom user. all right, in here we have the abstract user that we have just imported. all right, so in here we'll be defining, or we'll be fetching the gender. all right, so in here we have models.childfield. all right, so in this case, I hope at this stage we are able to, to define some or rather you're able to understand and appreciate the various field types that we have. Right, so we have phone number. So we said that let's work with this one as well, and we also gave I also gave some hint that when working with phone number, you may need to do some data cleaning to ensure that the number that is being stored here, one, meets the required length, and if at all you need to capture the country code. Right, there is so much to be done, but for now you're just going to store it in a child field. all right, so activate code. So we want to store a random code, or rather to assign a random code to whoever registers, so that that code can be sent through the email they provided, and they will be given an option to activate, or it's mandatory for them to first input that code for them to be able to activate that account. all right, so we are going to have models dot, we want a positive integer field. Right, so in here we'll get back there shortly. Okay, then we can have another field here. Let's talk of account active. Right, so we are going to use this field that once this activate code has been sent to the user, they will input it on a form that we will provide, and once they activate the account, then this will be set to true. So we are going to have models dot Boolean field, and by default this should be set to false. all right, I hope we all get the logic. all right, so once we do this, the next thing we need to do is we need to do some update in the settings.py file. all right, so by default this line will not be there, so it's for you to add it. all right, so in here what we need to mention is, one, the application where the new model has been created, and in our case the new application is a user models. all right, user models. Then this other part is the name of the class that we have used here. All right, for us to just be sure that we have everything in place, let me just do that. All right, so I hope this is understood, and if you are starting it afresh, this line will not be there, so don't look at a line that has been commented with what you have here. So it's for you to input this line. All right, so once we do that, what we will be doing, we will be doing migrations. We have created this class, so let's proceed and do the migration. All right, so I think all right, so I'll make migrations and migrate. All right, let's see. All right, so okay, it takes now. Okay, we have added to the same errors again, but then okay. All right, so what we need to do is that in this case, because of the new class that I introduced, I'll be deleting the current database and doing the migration again. Another thing that I think I'm forgetting is that we want this activate code to be generated automatically. If you remember, we created a function, right? utils.py. So we created a function here that is supposed to generate random numbers, and it will generate a random number which falls between 100,000 to 999,999. All right, so this block of code will give us a random number. It will pick a number randomly from this list and return that. So this is what we want to use, and we are going to do that. All right, I also think we have a syntax error here. Sorry for that. That shouldn't be the case. All right, sorry for that. Actually, that is the error that has been referenced here. All right, so we are going to make use of this utils.py file. All right, so it's currently under home, and let me see. All right, so what we can do, let me just have it there and show you how to use files that in another folder. So in case it was under this folder, user models, we would have talked about from all, that is dot from all dot utils. We want to import the name of the function. All right, so where is that function? The name of the function is that's the name of the function. All right, but since it's in another folder, it's not under the current root of the user models, so we need to mention from where is it coming from. So it's coming from home, so it's from home.utils. We want to import get activation code. So activate code, so in here we are going to pass a default value. All right, let's pass in a default value, and what we need to do is we are going to get activation code, and we are going to pass it in as a function. This is how we call a function. All right, so once we do that, let me try to migrate again without deleting the current database that we have. All right, let me see if this one works. Okay, all right, so we got errors. So let me try to remove the current database db. All right, okay, so let me repeat that process. Let's see how that one goes. All right, I think that works on our favor. So this method may require you to do a lot of troubleshooting here and there, trying to fix errors related to migrations. All right, so once we have that in place, remember now that we are working on a new database, right? No data, we need to create a super user. All right, and I hope you have seen that this command was meant to make migrations and to migrate. So it is simply two commands in one. I hope you know the use of these ampersand sign, the double ones, so they will kind of concatenate two commands into one. All right, so but either way you can learn them one by one. All right, so the next section, I want to create a super user. I hope we are all aligned on this. Create super user. So basically, a super user is the one who will have all the privileges to be able to run the various the various functions of our web application. So if at all you need to access the admin dashboard, you need this user. All right. So for the email, I'll skip. For the password, I'll input a simple password there. Repeat and confirm. All right, we are safe. All right. So the next thing is that let us start the server. We want to run server. Then in my case, I'll define a new port. In your case, if port 8000 is not in use, then you can, this will be enough. All right, so let's continue. All right, so let's see. Okay, perfect. So let's see the login page. Let us see what the login page has for us. Okay, now the login page, we first of all want to register. All right, so remember yesterday we added the phone field and the gender field. All right, so nothing much is happening here, and I think the rest of the things allow me to process them in the views for our home application. Right, so it's doable, but it's not really the best approach, especially when we have models in a different application, then processing the views here. It's not really the best approach. So allow me to just move everything related to authentication to the views of the new application that we created. All right. So we want to start with register. So let me check on that view, the register view. Right. So okay, let me just tag along the logout as well. All right, so once I do that, I'll come into, let me see, where is that new application, user models. All right, so then, okay, not models but views. All right, so let me have my views in there. Right, then okay, what I need is this. Okay, I also need the login. Let me tag along the login as well. All right, so I need the login here. All right, then what else do we need? Let me see. Here I don't need the rest. All right, so what I need to do, let me just copy everything here. I'll remove what I don't need. Okay, all right, so in this case I don't need that. Do I need models? I don't think I do need that. Messages, all right, I need that. Okay, all right. Anyway, all right, so let us just proceed. I think I have removed most of what I don't need for now. So we want to start by registering, and again we want to fetch some new fields in here. All right, so what we are going to do is that we are just going to do, okay, so before even we proceed, we need to do something else. Seeing that we created a new app, and I thought we are not going to use the URLs, so let us do an update here in the urls.py file of our project, and I'll be adding a new path. Let me have home, have that, and I'll be adding user models here, user models. All right, so I think that's okay. Then what I need to do is that in the user models, I need to create urls.py. all right, that's okay. Then I also need to transfer some lines here, so let me just copy everything and remove what I don't need. Okay, so in here let me have that. So I don't need this one, okay, I actually don't need most of this. then get subject. I also don't need that. All right, so in this case I've basically tried to separate everything related to the authentication. I have moved it to the user models. As we can see, this is what we have, and we are still going to do the necessary updates to ensure that everything is working as expected, even before we start doing other changes. All right, home.views. So where do we have that? All right, urls.py file, line 10 of home. All right, okay, not this one, line 10. Okay, all right, so in this case we need to, I actually would have deleted or rather cut them instead of just copying and pasting. Okay, all right, so let me just remove them. So let me confirm that everything is working as we expect it to work. All right, so I think everything should be in good shape. All right, please confirm we are together, guys. Okay, all right, okay, thank you for that confirmation. All right, so we are going to fetch the new fields that we have added. So previously we were fetching all these fields apart from phone and gender, so it's pretty easy. We are just going to do an update, and the update, let me remove that. I don't need that, neither do I need that. This one, okay, right, so I think most of these I don't need them for now. All right, so I'll come in here. Okay, no, this one, but this is what I need. So we are first of all want to do some updates to register. We want to register, and the way to do it, so in here we have already fetched around 5 fields, so we are going to be adding phone and gender. All right, so we want to add phone and gender. All right, so let's do that. So we have phone. All right, so basically it's the phone number, so let's have phone number, and the next thing will be gender. All right, so in here let me just copy and paste. Allow me to do that. I hope we are all aligned on how we go about fetching this data. So in here the name that should come in should be, let me see, register. In here we have the field for phone number, and we named it phone. So this name here, remember the name that we have here for the phone number should be exactly the same name that we have given here, and for the gender as well, this name that we have here. So let's do that. So for phone, let's have phone in there, right? Then for gender, let's have the gender there. All right, then kind of a disclaimer, we are fetching the gender, and we are relying on the user input. So again, this data might need a bit of doing some data cleaning, seeing that maybe I'll input male, another person will input male, another one will decide to input male, you know, quite a number of things that you can get. So the best thing would be having a drop down, or once this data has been submitted, you need to at least convert it to either lowercase or uppercase. All right, so we are going to go deep into that, but just know that there are some data like this you need to do a bit of data cleaning. All right, so once we have this, we are no longer working with this user model. All right, we are now working with this. So what we are working with, let me show you. What we are working with is that we are talking about from all models, we want to import our custom user. All right, so this is the user that we are going to replace all occurrences of this user that we have here. All right, I'm not sure if we are able to get that. So let me see, user, okay, not that. We have use, okay, sorry, I think caps lock is on, user. All right, so if I do this, I think it will replace even those that I don't want it to replace. But then every user occurrence. So this is the in reference to the user model that we have imported here. All right, but in our case we want to replace that with custom user. All right, so let's quickly do that. Okay, for now we want to work with the register, so this is what we want to do. So anywhere we have that user, we want to do that. Right, this one as well, we want to do that. All right, I believe the rest of the areas are in good order. Right, then in here we need to pass the new fields that we have captured here. All right, so one thing you need to know is that the names that you have given them here, gender and phone number. All right, so that you don't miss out on that here. All right, so let me just add them here. So in here we have gender, we equate it to gender, and then we have phone number equated to phone number. All right, so I believe this should work, or if it gives us an error, we see how to resolve that. All right, so let me save that. All right, okay, I was hoping to get an error, but anyway, that's okay. So let us try to register a user. Let's try to register a user and see how it goes. I believe everything should be in good order. So basically we are just leaving everything else as it was. All we needed to change was this custom user. So let's see how that one goes. So let me reload. All right, so user new, let me talk of new at gmail.com, phone, input a random phone number here. Then for the gender, let me talk about male, password, a very simple one. So we are talking about new. All right, new is our, oh, interesting. All right, so our new user has been created. So let's see how to, let me just log into the admin dashboard. All right, so in here we need to have that. All right, so another thing, we do not have the user model here. It has been scrapped off, so we need to do something so that we are able to see it here. All right, I hope you're seeing it's no longer there. So we need to do something, and remember most of these adjustments were happening in admin.py file. All right, so home, edit that. So in here we need to, so this is what we import. We are going to talk of from django.contrib, we have it there, .auth.admin. So we want to import user admin. All right, then we also need to do from all, okay, sorry, it's from all models. We want to import our custom user, the class that we have created to extend the user model. So in here we can pass in admin.site.register. I hope we are all aligned with this line. It is something that we have been using. So let's have custom user, save. All right, let's come back here, reload. Let's see what we get. So we have the users model here. Click on that. We have two users. Click on that. So are we able to identify the, okay, all right, I believe we are able to identify the new fields. All right, I believe this should be okay. All right, okay. So the next thing, let me try to create a new user here. Let me see how it goes. So password, all that, username, last name. I believe everything is here. I believe everything that I would have wanted is here. All right, so in that case we have already created we have already extended the user model, and as you can see, we are able to get the extra fields that were not there before. All right, and for the activation code, our we have the function that is generating this code randomly. All right. So the next thing, so one, we have been able to register and captured the new pieces of information. All right, so the thing we want to do past this is that we want to restrict this user from just being able to log in without confirming. All right, as we can see, we need to activate this account. All right, so we want to restrict only users who have already confirmed, or rather who have already activated their account. All right, so in here, when creating the user, we will come in and send this user the activation code, so that when they are logging in, they will require to input that that code. All right, so before we get there, I want us to move into login. All right, we had already worked on login before, so we want to advance on that. All right, we want to advance on that, and the way to do it is that we will be replacing where we have a reference to the user model. If in case there is, we will be replacing that with the custom user that we have used. All right, so for instance, where do we do that? Okay, all right, so in here, this is where we want to do some checks. All right, so looking at the flow of this view, we first of all check if the user is not authenticated. If at all they are not authenticated, then continue to process this. So check if it's a post request, fetch the username and the password. All right, then assign that and try to match if at all there is a user using the provided password. So in case a user with the provided password exists, then we'll have something assigned to whatever we have here. So in here, we are checking that if at all there is something attached to this one, then process the rest of the thing that we have. So in here, after confirming that the user is not none, there is somebody with the provided credentials, we are going to authenticate them. All right, so here, before we authenticate them, this is where we now want to check if at all this user has been has activated their account. All right, so let's see how to do that. And this is my approach. Just get the logic. There might be a better approach to this, but for now, let's see how to get an idea on how to work this one out. All right, so so we are going to check. We are going to do an if check, and we are going to do it here. So let me just move everything here, indent them that way, right? So in here, I want to check if so we have custom user dot objects, right? Dot objects. I want to filter, right? I want to filter, and I want to filter with the provided username is equals to username. All right, so in here I have quite a number of ways or approach to what I want to do here. So in my case, I can use that to get the very first user who happens to be in the object that will be returned by what we have here, right? But again, we have .first, which we also have .first, which should return the very first user, which we can also try to use, right? Then in here, we have gotten just one item, right? So then we need to check on account active, this one. All right, so we want to check account active, this one, if at all it's true. All right, so if at all this one is equals to true, then we can proceed and authenticate them. All right, so if at all it's not true, so if at all it's true, authenticate them, check if there is next. If there is, redirect them to the next page. Alternatively, take them to the home page. So if at all they have not activated the account, then we need to redirect them to a login page, or a page where they need to activate their account. All right, so very quickly I'll be creating a new view here. I'll define a view, call it activate, and I will pass in a request and do that. Let me for now pass so that I make this one complete. So in here, okay, so moving out from this if check, so I'll return and redirect them to this view that I just created. All right, so let me talk of activate. So that's so they will be redirected to this view. All right, so all the processes will happen here. So if I just do that, let us see what happens here. So in here I'll just come log out so that I try logging in with I think I created new and the password in there, right? Okay, all right, so something is probably missing. So let me move to the login page. Where is it? All right, here it is. Okay, so form method is equals to post, and there is the CSRF token. All right, so for the action, we said that if this form is being processed by the same view, all right, you may not need to provide it. So I believe everything looks good. Okay, all right, so let me also check on this login. Believe everything should. Okay, all right, so in here let me just quickly create a template that will be returned instead of just having pass that I have referenced here. So in here I need to have activate. Okay, sorry, activate. All right, so let us test that. We'll be creating that template. All right, so let me have new, the password, try to log in. All right, so reverse for active not found, not a valid view. Okay, I think I named it activate. Okay, all right, why isn't it not return a redirect, and we have redirected to that. Right. Anyway, the first thing that we need to appreciate is that one is that it's trying to check for this, but the issue is we haven't created a URL for that. So we are going to quickly create a URL for this view that we just created in here. Is this that's not where we need to create that. So this is where we need to create that. All right, so I'll do them at the same time. Activate. All right, so save that. I believe that should resolve our current issue. All right, so save that, or rather reload. So let's have new 1 2 3. All right, so let me input the wrong password. All right, invalid credentials. That's okay. Let me use correct credentials that exist. Okay, perfect. So we are now able to check if a user's account has been activated. If not, they are redirected to a new template. All right, so very quickly I'll be creating that template here called activate.html. all right, so in this case I'll be copying and pasting some lines of code for the purpose of that template that we want to use. So pardon me for that, so let me do that very quickly. Right, so let me fetch that. let me have it here. Okay, so let me for now just do that, then try to see how this one goes. All right, okay, said activation code. All right, so it has quite a number of rings, so let me remove these for now. Okay, perfect. All right, so it will redirect us here, and again it will request us to input the username that we used. All right, so there is the username that we created our account with, and enter the activation code. So this activation code is supposed to be sent on email. All right, so if you have this, and you have the username new and the activation code, you can activate your account from here. Alternatively, if you don't have an you don't have a what, so if for instance you didn't receive the code, then you can request to resend that from here. So we are going to ensure that everything is working. All right, so for now we are going to make use of let us just work on what we have here. We want to activate our account, so for now we are going to fetch this code from our database. All right, so let us work on this form. So in here we have a form fetching the username and the activation code. So they have already been given the name. This is activation and username. So we are going to process that. We are going to process that here in the activate view. All right, so what we need to do is that one, we are going to check if this user is authenticated or not, right? Because we don't want to or rather we want to work with someone who is not authenticated. All right, so to check that, I hope we are in agreement. This is the line of code. So we want to check if they are not authenticated, then process and do the rest, right? So the rest we also need to check if this is a post request. All right, and if this is a post request, we are going to fetch the username. All right, and we are also going to fetch the activation code. Activation. All right, so remember we named, or it's named activation, mostly not the ID but this name here. All right, so in here I'll have request dot post, then I can pass in activation. All right, so once we do that, we need to try and filter. We need to try and filter the user with this username. All right, then try to check if this is the activation code that was sent to them, and if they match, we go ahead and activate that. All right, so let's talk of user instance is equals to, we have custom user dot objects dot filter. All right, and we are going to filter based on the username is equals to username. All right, so again we'll check. We are going to check if user instance dot exist. So this one can be used to check if at all this user exists. Alternatively, you can use this kind of slicing to fetch the first person. All right, because if the list is empty, then doing this will return an empty list as well. All right, or rather it will return empty or none. Rather it will return none. So we want to check if user instance, so if this user exists, that is the user with this username, and user instance dot first, so we want to fetch the very first user, right? And we want to check if the activation code is equals to this activation code that has been fetched here, all right, is equals to activation. And again, since when we are fetching this data from the user, this might be in form of a string, so we can be good enough and convert it to integer. All right, so let's do that. So we want to check if this user exists, and their first occurrence, we suppose it will return one user because we do not expect two users to have the same username, and their first occurrence of the activation code is equals to the activation code that we have fetched here. Then let's proceed and activate. All right, so the way to activate that, we are going to talk of user instance dot, we want to do dot, so we want to work with the first. All right, remember that. So in here we don't want to, for instance, if you were to fetch, think of a different model whereby we can have multiple entries with the same username, and you do not specify like is it the first one, the second one, it will update all the entries, but at least we are a bit protected when working with the user model. But then you still need to mention dot first since you have used the filter method. Otherwise, if you used the get method, then you do not need to call this first method here. All right, I hope you are also aligned on how to do customer.objects.get instead of filter, then pass in username is equals to username. So if we used that, then we wouldn't have been required to use dot first. But I hope you also remember in our previous illustration that for get you need to there need to be that existing user, otherwise you need to pass it in through the try and except block. All right, so what we have here, we have user instance dot first, then dot active dot account active. I believe that's what we named that model, account active. So we want to set this one to true. All right, and once we do that, then we can talk of user instance dot first, right? Then let's hope it's gonna work, dot save. All right, let's see how that goes. Then once we do that, let's return and redirect to the login page. All right, so what if that username or the code is incorrect? So let us just generalize and talk of so out of this if block, then this will be kind of the else statement. So if at all we do not necessarily need to talk of else. All right, so the block that comes in the same line with this if statement will be implemented if this if fails. All right, so let us just have messages dot info, or do we send a warning? All right, so let's talk of a warning. Then you have a request here and pass in username or activation code incorrect. All right, and we are going to return that. sorry for that. All right, so I believe it's time to test this activate. All right, so save that, then let's reload this. All right, so let me just log in again here as the admin. All right, alternatively, let me open this in incognito window. All right, so let me log in that way, jump into these users, new. So this is the activation code that we have here. All right, so we are going to implement that here. So in here we have new, and then we input our activation code. So let's activate this. Right, so we have been redirected to the login page, and let me see, have we taken care of right, so return, redirect. So I think we should also pass in a message here. Anyway, messages dot info, then request account activated. Okay, let me just have that. Anyways, but basically, since we have been redirected to the login page, let me try to log in, new, then the password. Oh, okay, all right. So I believe it has not worked yet. Let me check from here, because we need this to be set to active, or rather to be set to true. Let me reload that. Right, not yet. Why is that? Right, let me reload. This is new. That's the activation code. Activate, account activated. Is it true? Oh no. All right, so it's not working. Something somewhere is not working as expected. All right, so let's try that out and see. All right, so let's see what is not working. So okay, all right, so we have set, so we checked if the activation code is if the activation code is equals to the activation that was fetched here, then we need to set account active to true, then save that. All right, I'm not sure if this is necessary, but let's see. Okay, all right, let me just try to remove this and see if this one works. Let me see if this one works. Right, so in here, let me reload, pass in the username, new. By the way, let me pass in a wrong code, see if that is working. All right, that's okay. All right, so if we pass in the correct one, let me see what happens. Query set has no. All right, so in here we need to pass in first alternative. Let me use this alternative one to see how this one goes, so that we can settle with one. Right, so this is new, activation code, activate, account activated. Let me check if that's true or it's a lie. Oh, we are still not yet able to do that. All right, so let me see. Okay, so we checked if that exists, and if the activation code is equals to that. So basically, the fact that we are able to process quite a number of things here, then that means up to this point we are okay. All right, so let me try to print. User instance dot first. All right, dot first, then I have dot active, account active. Let me try to fetch that and see. And also I think I can also try fetching. Okay, before I proceed, let me first save the activation code here. That's the one I'll be using. So after that has been updated, and we pass that as well. Right, let's see how this one goes. Right, login, new, password. All right, then user. Right, I needed to use this. Okay, sorry. All right, let me activate username, or okay. So I have new, that is the code, activate. All right, so let me view here. Right, so we are told that this is where our code is not working. All right, so I think let us advance our code a bit, because we need this thing to work. So if this one exists, then let me comfortably try to use a different method here, and I'll be talking about custom user custom user dot objects dot get, and we want to get the username and equate them to the username. All right, so we are sure that we have gotten a user. So once we get that, all right, so we need to, so once we get that, so let me talk of account. Okay, so let me do this. Let me do home user save instance. So let me work with that. So I want to, so I have that user in place, right? And I believe this must always return true, because we are already doing some checks here. Right, then in here, let me just come and talk of okay, right, so let me talk of home. Okay, home. So I have user save instance dot I want to have dot okay, sorry. Right, so I want to access what do I, account active and set it to true. Once I do that, user save, I want to save that. All right, so let me remove that which I'm not using at the moment. Okay, I don't need that for now. So okay, all right, so let me print that, then get that, set it to true, then save, then try to do that. All right, let's see if that one works, because the goal is to retrieve the user with that information and activate them against the code that we input. All right, that's new. Okay, sorry, so in this case I want to use that. All right, so we are in the activate form, so we have new, input the activation there, send activated. Is it true? Let me reload here. All right, so I think I'm happy that we have been able to work that out. So the first instance, that's false, the second one is true. All right, due to in the interest of time, we are not able to troubleshoot because even before we use the get method, I believe what we have been using should work. But anyway, it's working, so if at all it's working for now, we are not going to interfere it with that. And I hope what we have done is clear to everyone. All right, so let me just do that. All right, then for now we can try to log in. Right, so there we go. We have been able to access the home page. All right, so what if okay, let me try to log in as this user here. This user, which user? All right, so let me just try to register using a new user, and this user, I'm gonna call them email. These I'll give it admin dot at yes.com, phone, anything, gender, female, password, that's the password as well. All right, so register. All right, so a user has been created. In here I'll talk of email, password, that. All right, cancel that. try to log in. All right, so basically one, we haven't done any settings so that we are able to get this code to our email, but we are just going to do a small bit on how you can trigger this email to be sent here. All right, so we are going to introduce a new form that will give us a form that will be used to resend the email, assuming the email failed. So very quickly, we want to introduce that. Let me just call it, do I call it email? Email.html. All right, then from the views, let me come in here and define send email, send activation, any name you may need to call it. Pass in a request in here. All right, then in here what we need to mention is that we can for now talk of return lender. Then we have a request here, and then pass in we named it email. All right, we named it email.html, and again I'll be providing some code for that. So very quickly, we need to define a URL for this. Okay, all right, so let me do this. Let me do that. All right, so we have that. Another thing that we need to do is that in this activate, we have this URL, right? Resend activation code. Let me have that. All right. So the next thing, I need to share the code for sending email. All right, so just a moment. Okay, so in here what we have is that we want to be taken to this send activation page. Very quickly, we do that, save. Right, where do we want to be? All right, so one unique thing about the user model, we have the username as a unique entry, right? So we are sure that if we get the username, yes, somebody. Okay, not really, I believe. Okay, are you able to see my screen at the moment? All right, but okay, is it the source? Are you able to see this template email.html and what you have here? Oh, okay, all right. So this is in press. I'll be pushing it to GitHub, so maybe you can make use of these forms. All right, so right, so I hope we are together, guys. So we want to be able to send this email, all right? And I think we have already covered the concept on how to go about sending an email and all that. All right, so we are going to process everything here, and we are just going to do as we have been doing. We want to check if this is a post method. Allow me to just copy and paste the obvious. All right, and in here we want to fetch the username. All right, so once we get the username, so we want to further proceed and check if this username exists on our system. All right, so for now we can do a check. If username has something, we believe you should at least have some check. There are these attributes that we do pass in to ensure that you don't pass in empty form, right? But you can also further do that check here. If username has something, proceed to check if there is that user existing in the database. All right, so let us talk about user instance, and we are going to talk about custom user dot objects dot filter, and we want to filter by username. Remember, we want to filter by username. All right, so we want to check if this user exists. All right, exists. So if this user exists, what do we need to do? One, we need to fetch the particular user who owns this username, then get the activation code, then send them an email. All right, so very quickly, so if they exist, then let's do that. So we can have user, then let's use user instance dot first. All right, okay. So I think the only way you'll be able to appreciate what we are using here is after you do a bit of practice, but I believe it's clear. So by doing this, you get the very first user that you would have gotten using the get method instead of filter here. So once we get that user, we need to talk about activation code. All right, then we can have user dot activation code. We call it activate code? Let me see. Activate code. All right, activate code. So we have the code with us, right? Then after fetching the activation code, we assign it to active code, and I think now from here we can be able to take this further. Again, we also need their email because we will be sending them an email. So in here, what we need to do is talk about user.email. All right. So the next project is about how to send an email. So in here we can have a subject. What subject do we need to mention? Activate, or activation code. Activate your account. Maybe you can have the name of your company or your website. So message, let's pass in a message here. We can use the F method to say hi to the user. So let's talk about hi username, or even hi dot hi dot user. So what you have, we can have hi, what you have here. So we can have user dot first name, trying to customize the message to suit whoever is to receive the message. Then let's have kindly. Okay, so let kindly use this to activate account. Anyway, the message is up to you. It's you to decide which message you want to pass in, and I believe that should give us a new line, and have activation code, and you can pass in all the other disclaimers that states if you are not the one who requested for this, kindly ignore. So we are not going to do that, but at least we have the message. So in here we are going to pass activation code. All right, so the next thing, once we pass in, then the recipient. So for instead of having this email, let us just have recipient here. Recipient, which happens to be an entry in sending an email. So once we do that, the next thing we need to try and do. So let's move to home. We have home views. So we want to get the code to send an email here. So let's do this. All right. So we said if you are able to come up with a very nice template, then everything will be working as expected, because you do not need to, you just need to know where to get these lines of code. So we have that. then in here we push them in. Right, so this is what we have. So for the subject, we have the message. That is what we have. Then the email. So this email is for the sender. All right. So this so basically this email is being sent by our server. Right. So it should the sender should be you or your server, or the email that you have set as the admin user. So in my case, let me talk of okay, I'll be checking the emails available here, or rather let me just use my personal Gmail. I'm hoping it's gonna work. All right, then in here you need to pass in the recipient. So the recipient is this person here. All right, so and we need to have that in a list form. So let's do that, and I believe everything is okay. So once the email has been sent, maybe we can just return a message. We just need to return that message, alternatively return the error, and I believe this should help us. So for now, allow me to not to take care of if at all this user doesn't exist. I believe there is something that we are now able to work with. So let's see how this one works. And right, so let me see. Okay, let's try it out. So in here, I think the user in question is before I even proceed, right? So in here we have taken care of the method, the CSRF token, and all that. So and the block that returns a message if any. So let's do that. Right, so in here I need to have email. I think that's the name that I set for the particular account that I want to activate. So let me press on send. All right, so all right, let's see how that goes. All right, so incorrect authentication data. Perfect. So basically we had already configured emails to work, but if you remember, let me show you something. If you remember, I had provided some credentials here. So if these credentials don't work, then that's where this error is coming from. So I'll just quickly do that. I'll quickly set up the this particular email to use the password provided here, so that at least we can be able to authenticate. All right, so quickly let me do that. Let me do that very quickly. So remember what we mentioned, that you need a working email to be able to send other emails. So let's do that. All right, so I think we are now going to advance this. So the next assignment that we'll be reviewing in the interest of time is for you to send this email during the registration process. All right, you see where we are registering this user. Once the user has been registered, once we create this user, then be sure to send that activation message here. I believe we have everything, but first of all, let us confirm if this is working. I think it's a bit slow, but I'll leave that for you, this part. So immediately you register a user, please send the activation code to the user here. Send the activation code to user. Perfect. Right, believe you guys are capable of doing that. So in here I'll quickly search for, right, taking a bit of time to load, but I believe we are together, guys. Please confirm we are still together and you are following up, you are following on what you're doing. Okay, perfect. Right, thank you for that confirmation. Right, let's see, still misbehaving here. Let me reload. So basically I had already changed the password, so that's why we are getting this. And I think also Gmail provides some credentials that you can use for such purpose. I'm not so sure. I haven't tried it for some time. I think I had used it quite a number of years ago. So let's see. Let's work with what we have. It's taking a bit of time, but let's be patient with it. So in here, I believe as we wait for this to work, I believe everything else looks good. Well, it looks good, but not perfect. Of course, there are the areas that we have been mentioning that I believe when you're doing a serious stuff, there are quite a number of things that you need to, ensure that they are set up as needed. Most of which we have mentioned, and I hope you have been taking note of them. So something else that I think I encountered when trying to set this one up. So there are some times that you see we imported the custom model here, right? There is a particular error that I can't recall. I can't recall what it meant, but the solution was instead of importing it here, you import it in the block where you want to use it. So if you have it here, you get errors like you're not able to do the authentication. But if you want it to work, that is for these custom user that we defined, wherever you are using it, for instance in this block, you need to import it here, not here, right? So should you ever get a challenge that I can't actually recall what that error was talking about, and I was expecting us to get that error here, but I think it just worked, especially the fact that we created a new application here. Right, so let me see. It's now coming up. Alright, so I'll be checking with the test that the email that we are working with, manage. So this is another opportunity of you to know how to change an email password in cPanel. Just access the email section. Alongside the email you want to change, there is that manage button that I just clicked. So down here, just come set up the new password. Remember, we want to use the same password, or we can generate a new one and still update it there, but let me just use this. Once you do that, then just update it there, right? Then come back, redo. Okay, all right, so let me just refresh that, then use what we want to use is that username. Remember, this is the username that we are working with. Where is that? Right, this is the username that we want to work with. All right, so once we do that, let me click on this send. I believe everything should be set up correctly. Let's see how that behaves. All right, your email has been sent successfully. All right, we are happy that we have received that. So in here I set up my my email here, right? So let me just come back here, talk about admin, add the tag, no thanks. So let me check here. All right, so once that has been sent, maybe we should be redirected to the login page anyway, or the activation page. All right, the one that should now give us an opportunity to input the new, that is to input the activation code and the username to activate the account. All right, activate. All right, let me activate. Let me see. All right, perfect. So as you are doing it, ensure to redirect your user to this page. Right, it's taking some edges to get us there, but don't worry. I'm not sure if it's my internet or something, but we are going to get there soon. Okay, all right. So basically I've been able to receive the that email in my Gmail account. So I have configured the email that moves into admin. I should be able to receive them in my Gmail. So here is the email that I just received. This is some 2 minutes ago. So hi email, that's the username. Kindly use these to activate your account. So let me just copy and paste this. Right, so let me use new. That's my not new email. That's my username, and that's the activation code. Press on activate, account activated. Then let's do this. Put the password, go, and there we go. So we have been able to achieve that. So I actually don't need this for now. Okay, basically this is the email here. This is the email that we just confirmed on this other end. So it works. All right. So I believe that should be enough for illustrating this. I think it has actually taken more than we expected. But I believe you have been able to capture the concept of one, capturing more fields other than the default, and the second thing, setting the authentication code and restricting the user from logging in if at all the account is not activated. All right, so did we get it right, guys? Did you get the concept? Or is there any question regarding what we just covered? Okay, perfect. All right, how about the rest? All right, okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you. All right, so that's it. We had requested to at least cover that, and we have been able to do that. So before I forget, so there is another way whereby you can be able to fetch more information of a user. All right, so this is just on an overview. So besides extending the user model, you can create another model, right? So once you create another model, then have a relationship between the user model and the new model. All right, not in like there is this form that we used here to create this model. So you just create a model just like we have been creating other models here. Let me show you very quickly. All right, so just create a model like we have here, but then ensure that the relationship between this model and the user model is a one-to-one relationship. All right, then mention all the fields that you need to capture, all the fields of the data that you need to capture for a particular user. All right, so once you do that, then when saving a new user, you can populate the rest of the information in the new model. Alternatively, you can just capture the required information of the user model, and once the user has been logged in, just like we are trying to check, you see, we are trying to check if at all the user has activated the account. So you can try to check, you log them in, but then if at all they have not updated the new information in the new model, redirect them to a form. All right, if they have already updated that, then you can redirect them to the home page or the page of interest. So you can note that down and try to implement that, and I'll be happy to assist if you get stuck, and also be more than happy if you are able to achieve that as well. All right, so basically having multiple methods to achieve the same thing, it's another great thing that that you can have, because should one method turn out to be a challenge, then you can always use the alternative method. All right, so that's it for authentication and extending the user model.